Hello friends, today we shall be discussing yet another strategy for which we have just had a glimpse of it earlier, and that is feed forward control. Before we go in for the feed forward control, let me first of all revisit what is called feedback control. What is happening in feedback control? You have a process, you have a manipulated variable, you have controlled output. Why it is controlled output? Because you may have some disturbance, and this disturbance is going to change the control output may increase or may decrease. So it is measured, it is compared with the set point on the controller, and the controller gives the output, which again changes the manipulated variable, which acts upon the process, and the effect of disturbance is countered, the damage is controlled. But we see we are not measuring the disturbance, we are measuring the controlled output. This is the first thing we have to keep in mind in case of feedback control. Second thing is that when the disturbance actually starts having effect on the controlled output and the control output actually is deviating from the set point, the controller takes action to control that damage after the damage is done. That is what it's called, feedback after the damage is done. Contrary to this, we have feed forward control, as you can see in the figure now. In this case, again you have a process, again you have a manipulated variable, again you have a controlled output. But in this case, number one, the first and the foremost difference is that this disturbance is measured. This disturbance is measured. Here you see there was no disturbance measurement being done. It means that feed forward control, as we are going to see, is going to be applicable only on those processes and applications where the disturbances are measurable. Second, not only are the disturbances measurable, but we also know what is going to be the effect of that disturbance on the process and ultimately on the controlled output. We must know that how is this disturbance going to deviate this controller output, whether it's going to increase the controller output and to what extent, or it is going to decrease the controlled output and to what extent. And we also know the effect of manipulated variable on the same controlled output. If we know that, then measuring the disturbance and then estimating what its effect is going to be on the controlled output, we decide, we means the controller, it decides to have exactly equal and opposite effect of the change in manipulated variable, so that whatsoever was the likely effect of disturbance on the controlled output, we will introduce exactly equal and opposite effect of manipulated variable on the same controlled output, so that the effect of disturbance on the controlled output and the effect of manipulated on the controlled output, they cancel each other and the controlled output remains at the same point. So its action is taken before the controlled output starts changing, before, and that's why it is called feed forward control. The upper one is feedback, the lower one is feed forward. So the two things which we see is that first of all, the disturbances have to be measurable, and second thing is that the effect of disturbance on the process and the effect of manipulated variables on the process, that should be exactly known to us, means the model of the process should be known to us exactly. Only then can we design the controller to have this feed forward effect. And the good point, the advantage of this is that the control output never ever gets disturbed. We don't take action after the damage is done, we control the damage before it is done, and the output remains at the same point as it was without any deviation. So this is a feed forward control with its own advantages and disadvantages. As you can see, we shall be studying this for a while in the next slide as such. So my dear friends, it's clear that, if I am allowed to read it verbatim, feedback acts after the fact in a compensatory manner, whereas feed forward acts beforehand and in an anticipatory manner. And this we shall be again explicitly explaining with the help of a steam boiler. Just have a look at what's this steam boiler doing. This steam boiler is getting the feedback, is getting the feed water, it's getting the feed water, it's entering into the drum, it's being heated, it's converted into steam in very simple terms, and the steam is being given to the plant. Now the plant, it has its own requirement of the steam. It can extract more steam, it can stop the steam altogether, and so on and so forth. So these changes in the steam outlet are disturbances. These are disturbances. Suppose the steam extracted from this boiler, it suddenly increases. Someone opens the valve of steam in the plant and the flow rate suddenly increases. Now this increase in the outlet of steam is going to have its effect on the level of the drum, and the level will start falling. Level will start falling. We are not measuring the level. We are not taking the feedback from the level of this drum. What we are doing is, the disturbance is the outflow of the steam, and we measure the disturbance itself. This is the flow transmitter, FT, and this is given to the feed forward controller. And we know in very simple terms the effect of increased outlet of steam on the level which you want to control. Without measuring the level, instead we are measuring the disturbance. And what we do is that if the outflow of the steam increases, it's a very simple model. If this has increased by 10%, I will increase the feed water, the inflow of the water, also by 10%. As simple as that. This is a feed forward control. This is the simplest kind of feed forward control, that this ratio, it's a kind of ratio. You can see if this increases, then you also increase this. But the same ratio, 1:1, if it is in terms of mass, not in terms of volume, because volume of steam is different from volume of water in terms of mass, you can see. Now, as you increase the inflow of the feed water using this controller, using this valve, its effect on the level exactly compensates for whatsoever was the effect of increased steam outflow on the level. Exactly the same will be the effect of increased feed water on the level of the drum, but in the opposite direction. And so this level will remain the same. We have made use of feed forward control and not feedback. We are not waiting for the level to come down and then error is calculated and then nothing of that sort happens. This is the simplest example, but we'll go in for another example which is more complicated and more difficult to implement as well in the next slide. So what do you see over here is a heat exchanger. Some liquid stream is going in and it's getting heated, and you want to increase the temperature, and you are able to achieve that temperature. Now some amount of steam is flowing to this shell, and it's transferring the heat, and the condensate is coming out from the this part of the shell. Now this output of the entire thing can have number of disturbances. If the flow rate changes, this temperature will be affected. If the temperature of this liquid steam, that also liquid stream, that also changes, it becomes higher or lesser, then this T output will also change. But we are not taking feedback, we are not measuring the controlled output, but rather we are measuring the disturbance itself. Disturbance can be in the form of change in flow rate. Disturbance can be in the form of change in temperature, and these disturbances, they go to the feed forward controller. The feed forward controller has exactly the exact mathematical model of what's going to happen on account of the increased flow rate, what's going to happen on account of this increase or decrease in temperature, and that also knows how to compensate for this, and therefore it will exactly change that much amount of steam which is going to nullify, because the effect of this change in steam has to be equal and opposite to the effect on account of flow or the effect on account of temperature, or both of them taken together, and this T output will remain same. This is a complicated mathematical modeling which we required, and we shall be seeing these things in the subsequent slides also. But here the modeling is much difficult. As in case of the boiler, it was very simple, that if the mass flow out rate increases by 10%, you increase the mass flow rate of input also by 10%. Here things are quite complicated, and they require good deal of modeling and good deal of estimation and good deal of prediction of all the things, so that they can be exactly equally and oppositely cancelled to make the controlled output remain at the same set point. This is the third example, and perhaps the last one. I can give you so many examples on that. And again, you have what you see is a kind of continuously stirred tank reactor, and it's an exothermic reaction taking place. So you want to keep the temperature constant of the entire thing. So you make some coolant flow through it, and the coolant is going in at one point and coming out from another point. And what you do is that the disturbance can be in the composition of the inlet, the disturbance can be in the temperature of the inlet, and both are going to change the temperature. So instead of waiting for the temperature to change over here and taking the feedback of temperature and then controlling the coolant, what we see is we measure the composition, we measure the temperature, we have the model, we know how it's going to affect the temperature. We also know how the flow is going to change, flow of coolant is going to change the temperature of this. And this coolant is changed by measuring the disturbance occurring here or in both of them simultaneously. And then the coolant flow rate is adjusted exactly to the point, so that whatsoever is the effect of this disturbance or this disturbance is cancelled by an equal and opposite effect of flow of coolant in this direction. So the temperature of this always remains the same. This is one another example of feed forward control. Coming to the concept of going its mathematical modeling, as you can see it, simple process simple process. It has its transfer function as gp. How manipulated variable is going to affect the process is gp, how disturbance is going to affect the process is gd, and the sum of disturbance and sum of the manipulated variable both add together to give the output of the process. So ys is equal to ds into gds plus ms into gps. This is one simple equation, as you can see from here. Ys is equal to gps into ms plus gds into ds. This is what was ultimately said. And we want this ys to be equal to set point. We want the output variable to be equal to set point. So I can put this value of sp in the previous equation, and I will get ysp is equal to the same thing, the same equation as you can see up is repeated over here. And from here I will try to get the value of ms. What will be ms? I will divide the whole equation by gd. So this ysp will be divided by gd. I will subtract ds from it, and then I will divide it by gp to get the value of ms. This is what is going to be done. As you can see, this ms ultimately is equal to ysp divided by gd. Everything was divided by gd, so this also comes over here. So ultimately what you see is that this is the value of ms. Its manipulated variable comes out to be this thing. Now this thing gd upon gp is the controller action which is acting on the error which is produced on account of the disturbance or whatsoever is the change in set point. If you change the set point, even then it will be has to be multiplied by 1 upon GD. That factor we will be controlling over here, or this thing GD upon GP. What is GD? GD is the model of the process on how the process is going to change as per the disturbance. What is GP? GP is again the model of GP over here, as you can see over here. So this thing we call it as GC. GC means the you can say it's a transfer function of the controller can be designed. The controller can be designed if we know the value of GD, if we know the value of GP. Of course, that will be called as GC. So we call this GC as the transfer function of the main controller. Which controller? Mind you, it is a feed forward controller. That's equal to GD by GP. Similarly, you can have another transfer function, we call it as GSP. That's nothing but 1 upon GD. It's 1 upon GD, as you can see over here. So let's try to give a graphical, you can say, representation of this equation. What is this equation? This equation is that this manipulated variable, this manipulated variable is equal to what? I can just put one line over here. Whatsoever is the change in set point, I will multiply by 1 by GT. I will subtract the disturbance from here. I will multiply this by this factor GD by GP, and this entire signal will become MS, manipulated variable, and I'll put this over here. You can just imagine that I have some change in set point. That change in set point is multiplied by 1 upon GD. So I'll put 1 upon GD over here. I'll put a subtractor over here. Once I put a subtractor, this minus DC, this DS will be subtracted. And whatsoever is available over here is 1 upon GD into YSP minus DS. I'll multiply that by GD into divided by P. So this is multiplied by some GC. GC is nothing but GD upon GP. And that final thing, the output of that is going to become the input to this, that will become equal to the manipulated variable as given by this equation. So what we have to see is that I have GC given by this transfer function, and I have GSP given by this transfer function. This is what I'm going to see in the next slide. Dear friends, once again, as I said, this is GC given by GD upon GP, and this is GSP given by 1 upon GD. This is what I told you, that you have some transfer function of the change in set point. It's going to be multiplied by 1 upon GD. So this YSP will get multiplied by 1 upon GD, and this D will be subtracted from here. You will get over here is YSP upon GD minus D. This will get multiplied by GD upon GP, and this final thing will become equal to the manipulated variable, which will go over here, and that is how the whole feed forward control loop that acts upon this philosophy to keep y bar constant. So the thing is that, as you can see in the last line, the forward control, design of the forward control depends heavily on the good knowledge of process model GP upon GD. We can design this feed forward, I beg your pardon, it's feed forward controller in a manner only if this GD and GP are properly known to us. If this GD and GP are not known, then this GC can never be designed. Apart from that, we also have a condition that we might be knowing GD, we might be knowing GP, but we have to make sure that this GD upon GP ratio, it has to be physically realizable. It has to be physically realizable. What do you mean by physically realizable? That also we will see subsequently. So, physical realizability of the feedback. I beg your pardon once again, because I'm so used to saying feedback, it's actually feed forward. So, the physical realizability of feed forward controllers is explained with the help of an example, that let us say GP is given by some term into e the power minus zero point 0.5. GD is again some term into e the power minus 0.1. You know, here the delay is more in case of process and the disturbance is acting later and the delay is slightly less. It is 0.5 second delay, it is only 0.1 second delay. So in this case, if you will try to make GC, and GC is nothing but GD upon GP, and as you divide, you will have the final transfer element, the final transfer function, that comes out to be e the power plus zero point 0.4 plus zero point 0.4. This is the delay element, that is, we know the element is getting delayed. This is something which is opposite of delay, means we need the future value. No system as such can predict the future value of any signal, and therefore these kind of controllers are not physically realizable. They are not physically realizable. So these kind of feed forward controllers are not physically realizable. So the exponential term requires future values, that is, it requires the value of disturbance to be known in future, not the current value, but the future value of disturbance is required to compute the current value of manipulated variable, which is not possible. So that's why we say, because the future values are not known to us, these kind of feed forward controllers, especially here as you can see in these examples, as we can see over here, are physically unrealizable. They cannot be applied in the real situations. You just cannot simply know that, oh, I know the mathematical model and I will design it. It's not possible. Only if it is physically realizable we can go in for these kind of controllers, otherwise not. Coming to both the traditional feedback controller and the feed forward controllers, as we have studied over here, you have the advantages and disadvantages of both feed forward and the advantages and disadvantages of both feedback controllers as well. And feed forward you have learned today, and the feedback you already know, and they are being summed up in this table over here. First we will consider the advantages of feed forward controller. The first one, as you can see, is that it acts before the effect of disturbance has been felt by the system. It's good for slow systems with significant dead time, for example. It does not introduce instability. This is the best part of feed forward control, will never ever result in instability, which is quite common in case of feedback controls, where if you increase the gain, then with higher gain the feedback control system tends to become oscillatory. Feed forward control will never become oscillatory. But then you have disadvantages of feed forward. Number one, it requires the identification of all possible disturbances and their direct measurement. So the disturbances have to be measurable. It cannot cope with the measurements which are not measurable. It is sensitive to the process parameter variations because we need to know GP and GD. It requires good knowledge of the process model as such. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of feed forward controller compared with that of the feedback controller, which does not require any kind of measurement of disturbance. It is insensitive to the relatively quite insensitive to the modeling errors, and it is insensitive to the parameter changes that may be taking place in the model. But then again, it has some disadvantages also. First of all, in case the biggest disadvantage of feedback is that it waits until the effect of disturbance has been felt. So it's a damage control. Some damage is happening and then it starts to control it. But it's not taking action before the damage. The second thing is that it is unsatisfactory for the slow processes with a significant dead time. And many a times, if we are not giving a proper gain, we give slightly more gain to the feedback system, they may create instability in the closed loop. So the system tends to become unstable and oscillatory. So what we do is that to take the advantage of both feed forward and feedback systems, we combine the two. We make use of feedback and we make use of feed forward. Primarily, we're making use of feed forward. We're trying to mitigate most of the disturbance effects by feed forward, but because of the unknown values of the parameters and so on and so forth, some of the disturbances may not be so accurately measured and so on and so forth. The feed forward control is not able to fully compensate for the disturbances. So the remaining part of it, say 30%, 20% of it, is compensated by a feedback. So we use both feed forward as well as feedback control, especially in the critical, very, very critical situations. That's what we're going to see in the next. So here you see in this slide you have a feed forward as well as a feedback controller. First of all, you see that it has a traditional feedback control, as you can see over here. You are taking the feedback, and along with it you have a feed forward controller, as you can see from here. On the top, the topmost one is having feed forward, the lower one is feedback. That's how controller used, given the thing GC1, and for the feed forward the controller is given the notation of GC2. That is, what we do is that we analyze this and we will get a mathematical equation as for the output given in the next slide. So what you see over here is the output given by both feed forward and feedback. GC1 is for feedback, GC2 is for feed forward. But the interesting thing is that if you see the denominator has only GC1. Denominator has only GC1. Denominator GC2 is missing. GC2 is for feed forward. GC1 is for feedback. So it means that the denominator, the one which is going to determine the stability, the characteristic equation, is dependent only on the feedback controller. Feed forward will never ever make the system unstable. Instability or instability in the system will be introduced, if at all, only on account of the feedback controller. So we have to keep the gains of feedback quite low so as to not get into an oscillatory behavior or things becoming unstable. So this is what is written. The stability characteristics of feedback system will not change with addition of feed forward loop. GC2 is not playing any role in the stability of the system or instability of the system. And this is the funnel graph. As you can see that we go in for the feed forward control only. It's only the feed forward control, and we see that some deviation is remaining from the feed forward controller. To compensate for this small change in feed forward, still left uncompensated on account of, let us say, disturbance, we introduce a small amount of feedback. Small amount of feedback means feedback with much lesser gain, so that the system doesn't become unstable, and that little bit amount of gain given to the feedback, it compensates for whatsoever is the effect which is left uncompensated by the feedback. So this is giving the advantages of both feed forward as well as feedback. Since the gains are less, therefore the chances of this becoming unstable are also less. So this was about the feed forward controller and its comparison with feedback, and then finally going in for a composite mode of feed forward as well as feedback control. I hope the things are quite clear to you by now. In case you have any queries, you can contact me through WhatsApp or LMS. LMS stands for Learning Management System, or through Zoom sessions or face-to-face interactions, or through telephone, cell phones, etc., etc., on any of the concepts related to feed forward, feedback, concepts which can always be applied in your daily life as such, in whatsoever part of walk of life you may be going in the future. I thank you for being with me. I wish you a very safe stay and enjoy learning. Bye bye.